Yeah, so going back, in order to tell you a little bit about these plaques, I was able to take the opportunity to go to the scout office and pull everything up. They had tons of files, and I was able to bring up every boy that ever earned Eagle in Troop 140, later to be 240, and on to 340. And the first boy that earned his Eagle through 140 was in 1970, and it was Bruce Lawrence. And then 120 some later, when scouting was suspended in the church, the last boy that earned was with 240, and it was Hiram Lang Kildee on 5/29 of 2019. So it was really neat. We got 3 of these plaques. We had them displayed in each building, one for each building. And then later on, we have had to take them down, but they were always in our minds and our hearts. A lot of work went into the scouting program, and all the leaders need to be thanked and recognized, and we certainly love and appreciate each one of them.
Yes, my name is Maker. I'm from the Job Speaks Ward. I became the member of the church last year. So this is like a little bit over a year. I was born and raised in Indonesia. So I was born and raised in very strong Muslim family. I was Muslim. So I get baptized in this Ferry Church in Spruce Street. So to me, this church is really, really like a historical landmark for me, because it's the, how I say it, a place for a rebirth. So I hope our world is going to enjoy our new place, wherever it is. And I hope we will have more people to get baptized. Thank you.
But the story I have to tell is from my junior year in high school. So this would have been, I don't know, late 70s, 79 or 80, something like that. Anyway, the young men were in charge of the haunted house for Halloween. So myself, Keith Schaefer, Craig Schaefer was a year younger than us, Pat Moore, Todd Ellison. So anyway, we were in charge of the haunted house, which was down in the, I think now it's the young women's room and the scout room. So we put together this awesome haunted house, super scary stuff, lots of gross things, because we were teenagers and that's what we could do. So in the corner of the young women's room, we made this cage with streamers that went from the bottom to the top of the ceiling. And in the corner of that, we had Craig Schaefer dressed up like a werewolf. So he was dressed up like a werewolf. So when we went to do this, I was one of the guides. So we would take the people through, guide them through the haunted house. And we had a really super powerful strobe light. So when the strobe light came on, it was really, I don't know what the word is, discombobulating. Anyway, it was really kind of freaked you out. It was hard to even know where you were. Even for us as 16, 17-year-old boys, it was very powerful. So we would wait till he was in the corner. We would take the kids in this room after we had really grossed them out, scared them out in the hallway, scared them in the scout room. And then we would take them into there, and then we would turn this strobe light on, and then we would have Craig come out of his cage, break out of the cage, and we thought this will be good, this will really scare the kids. So anyway, we had this family that had these kids, and they were kind of uptight, kind of weird kids. And I don't remember their name, but anyway, I remember being the guide for them, and they had this young boy, and we come in there and he goes over by Craig, and we turn on the strobe light, and anyway, Craig lets out this roar, and he comes breaking through the cage, and this kid just is like, no. And so I just, we had music real loud and all these noise, so I can't hear the kid scream, but I see his mouth going, no. And he turns and runs, and the doorway is right there. And he just doesn't even see the doorway, and he just runs smack into the wall, hits his head on the wall, and I'm thinking, oh, this is so not good. Smack into the wall, bangs his head, falls down. He's like semi knocked out, head split open, blood going all over the place, and I'm like, oh dang, this is not good. So we get the kid, we get help. He's bleeding all over the place. Anyway, it was quite a traumatic event. The parents were not happy, the leaders were not happy, and we did not get asked to help with the haunted house again, even though I volunteered that we could help next year because we did such an outstanding job the first year. They said, no, you are definitely never helping with the haunted house again. So that's my story of us doing a great job with the haunted house.
So a memory I have as a kid growing up here, getting into trouble a lot here at the church and all over the place, was in the back here. They used to have a big brick wall that's now wrought iron, and I think it was probably because of us, because we would get into a lot of trouble. But when we were trying to get away from leaders and we were trying to have some alone time as youth, as young men, we'd climb on top of the brick wall out back and we'd lift each other up onto the roof, which led up to the top of the cultural hall. And we'd have a lot of cool times up there, whether it was with crab apples hitting people down below, and having fun throwing stuff off and making jokes with anybody. I think we've brought bottle rockets up there at one point or another. But it was kind of a neat experience for us because you could see the entire valley, whether it was dark or light. And it was fun to see the lights at night. And we had some spiritual times up there where we had, whether we were breaking the rules or not, we still had some closeness. And we were able to feel the spirit and see what was happening around us, and feel kind of a closeness to our Heavenly Father. But also, it was a good place to hide away from leaders, to have our own space, and they could never find us up there. They probably always knew where we were. But it was always a fun little experience to be up there and be with all the kids from, growing up with the Dixon boys and the Stocktons and the Johnsons and Russells and all those kids, and used to get in a lot of trouble, have a lot of fun, but always a place where we could be and feel the spirit and have what we needed to with the connection to our Heavenly Father.
Have a good memory of my baptism here where, because of how old the water tank was, by the time I got here to do the baptism, my grandfather already prepared, waiting for me to come into the font, and I step in there and it's freezing cold, and so I remember that mostly of my baptism. And then living life, came a time that I became a ward missionary and then eventually the mission leader, where I wrestled with that font again when it was still the same old water tank. And so I was told, you need to come here 3 hours before and prepare for it. And I was like, I'm not having any of that. So I would start to fill it up. And what I would do is I'd go to the kitchen, since it has a separate water tank, and start filling up the big soup metal bowls with the water here from the sinks. And so while that was going, just start filling them up, take the carts, start dumping them, and that way whoever was being baptized that day was able to have lukewarm baptism. So I was like, I will not let them suffer like I suffered.
Okay, so this was the original building. This was the original front of the building. This was designed to be the front of the building. I know most people are used to the front doors being over there where the new chapel is, but when the building was first built, this was really the front door. The foyer, the front door was right here. There were initially nice bushes along here, but as you can see, this was all kind of designed to be the front of the building. And there was this parking was here. But if we want to just go right in here, we can do it. This was the front door. And I can't remember, but this was actually, I do remember, this was a small foyer area here. There was a little couch there. This was where everybody would come in first. The bishop's office was right here. This was the door to the clerk's office. And then this was a classroom. And then when the building first opened up, this was the end of the building. There was a door here that went outside. That part of it was added a few years later. We added additional bathrooms, primary, the baptismal font. But when we first started, you can see the exterior brick. There was a door right here. Again, this was bishop's office, clerk's office. You can imagine this was just a foyer, and you'd come in here. There were two double doors here that would go into the chapel. And we can come in here, but this all was a chapel area. There was two double doors right there for an overflow to the chapel. And so you'd come here, and this is where you'd open this up, and the chapel came all the way back to here. Then there was a curtain that went along here, and this was an overflow to the chapel. Like I said, there were double doors here. You go in that overflow, and then this was a double doors into the what we call the gym, but it was the cultural hall. And there were two big curtains that you could open and close, so you could open that all up. So the chapel went from there all the way back to here, and then there was a stage right back here. You had access to the gym and from there, but on the right side was the kitchen. Right there where the Family History Center is, you go into, that was the kitchen. And then there's a door that we can see from there. That was the relief study room adjacent to the kitchen on that side. So, like I say, you would go into the chapel here, and the pews, and again the pews. I think these are the original pews, and they went back again to about right here. And then there was a curtain, and we'd set up chairs and open the curtain, and then you'd get like another 10 feet. And then you'd open another curtain, and you could go all the way into the culture hall. But this seemed a lot bigger to me when I was little. But this is pretty much what it was like. There was an organ and a piano over on that side. And the clerk's desk was right here. Again, and you have to kind of try to imagine this ceiling not being here, because this was all open beam. If you could see up there, you could probably see the big open glue lamp beams that went all the way across here, so it was tall. And right there were organ pipes that went up to the top of the ceiling right there. So the organ played there, and the organ pipes were right there. It's actually a pretty cool organ, and you got some really good sound in here. This was the sacrament closet. This is where, and there was a table. There was a built-in table that matched that right here, and that's where the sacrament was prepared right here. Deacons would sit right there. Priests would sit right back there. Sacrament would be prepared and would come out onto this table right here. Remember a funny story? I used to get bored sitting right there, and I'd take the sacrament cups and I'd make a pyramid and see how high we made it. Had to come to see who could make the highest pyramid out of sacrament cups. Till one time they all fell down, made a big racket, and that was the end of that. But yeah, this pulpit, I remember, so many, Bishop, who were the bishops? Ellison, Max Jones was first bishop here, then Bishop Ellison, then Bishop Keel, Bishop Alexander, and then Crossman eventually, but I think they were all bishops when this was the chapel. I spent so many hours in the choir seat because my mom was the choir director, and we did so many Christmas programs. Lots of good memories. And just one more thing: these windows were stained glass, and they went all the way up. where those white windows are. There was a door right there, but the windows were stained glass and they went all the way up to as high as the wall, went probably another 5 feet.
Do we still have the stained glass?
I don't know. Somebody said it's in the attic. We might have to go check. That was right there. There was a basket. I don't know if I can see the anchors, but there was a basket up, 10 feet mounted on a wall right there. And we played so much basketball in this area right here. In fact, my favorite place to shoot and miss was from right back here. The basket was right above where that door is. I was sitting here one time to see if I could see the anchors, because they'd have to still be in the brick. Where they anchored that hoop into the wall. Oh, I think you can, I don't know, you can see some, but I mean, it was 10 feet, but right about there was a basket, and there was a door there that went out. The stage being there, underneath the stage, all along there were doors you'd open up, and there were you'd roll the tables, the banquet tables and the chairs. So we wanted to set up chairs. We'd open the doors and we'd pull the racks out, and we'd take the chairs off, and we could set them up and put them back in. And I remember one time one of those was out, we were putting away, and I was horsing around, and I tripped and I slid into one of those and gashed my knee open, and George Keel picked me up and carried me down the street to Dr. Johnson's office, and he stitched up my knee. Okay, so actually, this right here, this is where the stage started, because this was the extension, and this was the doors, the double doors to the back side of the cultural hall, right? So you had doors up there, doors here. You could come into the back side of the cultural hall, and the stage was right here. This was a door. Actually, this door wasn't here. You could just go up. There was stairs, half stairs that went up, so you could access the side entrance to the stage. You'd go up here and go in there, and you could get access to the stage. So when you'd have like a production, everybody was like out here, and they would go into the stage. They'd go through here, up the stairs, and on the back, and then they'd open the curtain. You could go that way in the cultural hall. If you came this way, now we passed it, but right across from the cultural hall was the kitchen. This was open, and there was a counter right here, and then there was doors you could open like accordion, kind of. You'd click them like this, you'd open them up, and there was a counter. You could see into the kitchen. I could still see all the ladies in there cooking and doing the stuff, and that's where the food would be. And then you come across the hallway and into the gym. The door was here. You could go back through here, and then you could get to the kitchen and a door back there. But yeah, that's the kitchen. And then these are still the same storage cabinets, bathrooms. But then this was a relief society room. And here's a key. But anyway, this is a relief society room. And then there's a door right back there that went into the kitchen. So again, this is where there were chairs usually set up here for Relief Society. There was a chalkboard up there and a table. Of course, their decorated table and everything, just like Relief Society should be. But there's also where I had seminary. So Clay Peterson and I, the Moores, and all of the young men, young women, we all came here to have seminary. Early morning seminary. And then this that we call the dungeon was the library. So in here, this is where the library was. There was a counter here. It kind of came around here. And then right there that was a window, the window that went outside. The only thing I really remember is coming in here and getting the programs for the meeting programs, because there was a Xerox machine, a Ditto, we call it a Ditto Xerox, where you just put it in and you crank a thing and it would spit out copies. It would make copies of the program and you kick them out. So I remember it sat right up there by the window. And then back there, that's where the librarian was, and all the pictures and stuff. And that was the Relief Society room. This was a classroom, but mostly this is where all this young men had all this. This was the scout room. And you can still see some remnants of scout stuff in here. There's a couple flag posts, some flag pole holders. But yeah, a lot of scouting shenanigans went on right here. More square knots tied in this room probably than you can shake a stick at. This is kind of young women's room, another classroom again. And this is a false ceiling too. This actually went up high too. But this large room, you could separate it off by that curtain and have 2 classrooms in here. And then the initial building ended right here. There was a door. The door right here, and you went out the parking lot. And it came around the back side of the gym. So that was all. That all was added. The gym and the new chapel.
So that was above the stage?
Yeah,
This was?
that was above the stage. That.
And then this is...
The blue lamp beam above it, so you can see the old tile of the ceiling. That was the ceiling over the gym.
no stained glass yet.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
We're on a treasure hunt.
And then you see that framework there,
Uh-huh.
all finished. That was, and then I think there's fabric on it. You should go look at it, but that's where the organ pipes were.
Oh.